Nebraska Republican Senator Ben Sasse agrees with these gentlemen and worries what's being set, by design here. First, Senator, it's always good to have you. But
Thanks, Neil.
John Kerry indicated earlier today that the UN Security Council has voted for this unanimously. So the Congress thing is just a side drama. This is a done deal by that measure. Do you agree?
No, it's obviously not a done deal, but even by the low standards of Washington, this is a condescending way to treat the people, because what we should be doing is having the administration make a long-term argument about U.S. national security to the American people, and instead they're more preoccupied with Russian and Chinese bureaucrats. It's disappointing.
Do you make much of the confusion we're getting out of Iran? And that is, some mullahs saying that they feel that maybe the negotiators ceded too much. That is, Iranian negotiators ceded too much to the Americans. By the same time, others are ripping the United States and the old death to Israel thing and all that stuff. We're getting mixed signals. What are you to make of that, and what that portends for approval here in the United States?
Well, if the negotiations started here and here, the U.S. gave and gave and gave and gave, and then the Iranians decided they could ask for even more. If you look at the agreement as the administration was sketching the framework on April 2nd, and I'm just coming now out of the SCIF where I've been reading the classified annexes of this document,
right.
And by the administration's own standards, they didn't get very much of what they said they were going to get in April, and what they were striving for in April was too little for the long-term security of the American people and our allies in the Middle East.
Real quickly, John McCain name comes up, and as you know, Senator, the Donald Trump remarks, I don't have to refer to you. Donald Trump has refused to apologize, says he doesn't have to. What do you think?
Yeah, none of that is of a lot of concern to the people in Nebraska, but I'm grateful for John McCain and for all the POWs out there and all the men and women who've worn the uniform and fight for us. We got a lot of heroes, and we should be saluting them.
If Donald Trump were to emerge as the Republican nominee for president, would you back him?
People in my state, they're interested in the Iranian deal right now, and a lot of these things are kind of sideshows, so we're not paying a lot of attention to that. I got to be home all weekend and play with my kids and float the river, and now we're back in Washington. We need to tackle the era of crowdsourced domestic terrorism we're in, so I'm not paying attention to that.
Okay, so let's go on to this one-off issue that we've raised about this latest terrorist incident in Chattanooga. As I think you have indicated, Senator, if it's a one-off incident, there are a lot of one-off incidents, and we're seeing more and more of them. How do you define them? Do you think you connect them? Because I guess what authorities are saying, each is unique, and you can't, connect them. You say what?
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, the administration and most of the national media is now complicit in just denying the era that we're in. We're in an era of digital propaganda and online recruitment in the global jihadi movement. Of course, there's a lot that we don't know about Chattanooga, but we do know this, that we don't fight just wars against state actors anymore. We have all these non-state actors in the world, and ISIS and Al-Qaeda organizations like that are going to continue to evolve, and the administration pretends that if there's not a work order that gives a specific terrorist a specific target at a specific moment, then maybe it's not connected to the global jihadi movement. Your listeners should go look at the Inspire magazine online and see the way these organizations are shifting toward awareness of soft targets and directing people to self-radicalize and to attack. Again, there's a lot we don't know about Chattanooga yet, but what we do know is that the era we're entering is going to have a lot of this, where soft targets are exploited by people who believe in killing in the name of religion, and the administration shouldn't be always looking for a smoking gun theory before they tell the truth about the nature of the battle that we now face.
All right, real quickly, we got the Cuban flag flying in Washington right now. Do you think if a Republican is elected, Marco Rubio has been among those who says that comes down, that nonsense stops, but would it be too late by that time?
Neil, I'm sorry, there was some noise here in the rotunda. I couldn't hear the first half of your question.
Yeah, the Cuban flag is flying in the Capitol right now in Washington, and Marco Rubio has been among those saying it has to come down, this whole thing stops. But by then, we'd be 18, 19 months into this. Is that doable?
I got to be honest, the people in my state, they don't spend a ton of time on the symbolic issues, but let's be clear who the Castro brothers are. They're brutal dictators that oppress free people who are made to be free. We shouldn't be having the Cuban flag flying, but the more important thing is that the U.S. should have a long-term foreign policy that's about being a beacon of freedom for the world, and we shouldn't be compromising with dictators.
All right. Thank you very much, Senator. Very good to have you. I've got my buddy Janice Teen.